with our systems design network. You can find out more about that, systemsdesign.io/design. So the purpose of this event is a workshop to try and create a collective narrative as to why systems design and why now. The aim is to create a compelling story as to why systems design is of such relevance in the development of the kind of design practice needed to meet the demands of an increasingly complex world and the wicked challenges presented. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a story around system design and why it's of relevance to us. We'll try then to come to some understandings through synthesizing these interpretations into a mind map and deliver a presentation based upon this in a further session. Everybody mute their audio, please, so that we don't get any backgrounds. The activity today, it's very similar to last time. It's an adaptation. It's a workshop based upon the concept of Petrakucha, which is where we're going to look at images here. We're going to take a question. Each board here is going to have a question. And then we're going to post up stickies. You just grab a sticky here and you put it down here. Let me scale it properly. And then you're going to write a response to the question that's posed on each board, and going to look at the image also and use that as a kind of visual kind of stimulus to activate our imagination and as a kind of analogy or a way of thinking about the response to this question. So this first question on this first board is around what's the current context and what are the major trends happening as we go forward. So we have this here, and I might write something about, you know, environmental change or whatever it is, and I type it on my sticky there, and it's very simple. You just double click on the sticky and type away. So this is what we're building, this here, a narrative, right? Let me let these people in, admit all, okay. So it's a narrative for change. Why we need systems design. We have 4 boards. The first board, as you saw there, is about the context. What is the context we live in, and what's the big changes happening in that world, right? That are going to drive the need for a new design approach. Then we're going to look at the second board is about the kind of challenges that we face, right? The opportunities and challenges created by that changing environment, you know, by globalization, by the environmental changes, by information technology, and so forth. And why do we need a new design practice to realize those opportunities and avoid the kind of risks and so forth? And then what is the kind of transition that needs to take place? And the third board, what's the kind of transition that needs to take place for us to get to a new paradigm? And what does that new paradigm look like in design? So this is the story we're trying to construct for ourselves, and we've got 4 boards here, and we'll take about 10 minutes on each board. You guys will post up your stickies, and then we will look through them to have a bit of discussion. So this one here, the first one, you can see here the 4 boards. We'll cover these in the next hour or so, next 15 minutes. These are the 4 boards, and the first one here, as mentioned, it's about the current context. What's going on out there in the world that's creating major changes, that's necessitating a new kind of design practice, right? Might talk about the rise of complexity or those kind of major trends I talked about. That's up to you guys. That's the question, and then you can use the image to play off and find a response to that question that maybe relates to that image. Everything clear? Could everyone please shut off their mics so we don't get any background noise, and grab a sticky. So you just click on the sticky on the side here, and then you go to the image and put it down, type up some text, and then move on to the next image, and just do these first 4 images on this first board, and you will have about 5 minutes or so to work on that, and then I'll come along, we'll pick them up and discuss them. Any questions? Happy to answer them.
Well, could you share the link again of the mural?
Sure. Sure.
Thank you.
I'll put it here in the chat. All right, guys, I'll give you about 4 minutes for this.
Hi, Josh. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. What are you doing?
We are writing up, we have a question here on the first board, which is, we're trying to construct a story about why we need a new design paradigm. In the first board here, we are trying to answer the question, what is the current context? What's the current environment out there, and the big changes that are necessitating a new design practice? And we have these images here. So if you post up a sticky on this board, and maybe use one of those images as an analogy or a way to tell a story, but try to respond to that question. One sticky per image on this first board.
Yeah.
Ouais. Que j'avais pas envoyé. Oh là là.
So just on the first board, no need to move to the second, just the first 4 images here. If you need any help, you can ask me or put in the chat.
Hey there.
Okay, we'll wrap up shortly, just in under a minute, and then we'll move on. Okay, let's stop there for now and take a look at what we got. For anyone who's just joining, what we're doing is trying to answer the question up here on the board. You'll be able to join in on the next one. We're grabbing a sticky, a response to the question, and you play off the image to try and respond to it. So the question here was, what's the macro environment? What are big changes that are necessitating a new design paradigm? So let's take a look at this first one. Climate change. Who is this? Do you have climate change with this? Climate change gone away? Okay, resource scarcity, another climate change. Who is the other climate change? Okay, so what else do we have here? Respecting nature, emissions from cattle due to eating habits, interconnected problems, not possible to solve them in isolation. Okay, who is this? Interconnected problems?
Yeah, that's me. So what I also wrote my thesis about systemic design, and what my argument is basically that we have a lot of problems that are interconnected and we cannot solve them in isolation. So we have to look at the bigger picture to kind of solve it from that perspective, and we cannot solve them when we just look at one single problem alone.
And what do you think are one of the trends that are driving that, right? What's happening out there in the world in terms of creating that situation, do you think?
I mean, it's definitely an increase in complexity. So we have a much more connected world, but also it's a lot of effects. I mean, what's visualized here, right? So what we see with COVID now is that a lot of factors are driving this, that we are, deforestation is increasing the contacts with animals, that increases the likelihood of transmissions and so on. So it's a lot of factors that are driving this and that led to this pandemic. And so you have so many factors that that are influencing that, and we cannot just solve it by doing one thing.
I mean, that one is one about us human systems and economics and society becoming more and more integrated with ecological systems, because there's more of us and we have more systems and processes interacting with the natural environment, right?
Exactly.
Okay, great. Established regenerative mindset. Who is this?
It's Joanne. Just that's deeper than just looking at connectedness, climate change, environmental issues. I think there is a mindset shift into regenerative thinking instead of oh, these things are bad, those are good. There is no absolutes.
Yeah, so it's almost a change. It's kind of paradigm change in values, really, isn't it? It's
yes.
It's not just sustainability and stopping the amount we're consuming. It's actually trying to regenerate things.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. So let's click on to the next one here. So tap into collective intelligence, population explosion, loss of empathy due to polarization. How's this going to affect design, you think? Who is this? Loss of empathy due to polarization?
Hi, this is Zainab. I've been writing that. I think it's kind of inability to understand different
loss of
people
loss
and
of it.
perspectives.
Yeah, loss of empathy due to polarization. So it's people kind of going off in their own, I guess it's the social media thing, isn't it? People going off into their own kind of worlds and not being able to connect properly with other people.
Yeah.
Okay, wealth gap in the world, massification, a world without borders, refugees. Who is this?
Sorry,
World without
that's
borders?
me.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Like nowadays, for example, here I'm from South America, and in Peru we are having like a lot of refugees that are coming from Haiti and Venezuela, and because they're having like extreme problems in their country, so we don't have we don't have laws for them to host them in the country, so it's really messy, and this is happening all over the world, no? So there is I think there is a change about something that is happening, that borders are gonna need to change in some way.
It's the interconnected thing again, isn't it? Not just with nature, but we're interconnected with each other now in this context we're talking about, aren't we? It's pretty wild what's going on in Central America, the migration and so forth. So good one. Increased inequalities. Okay, organized chaos. We're in it together. Who put this here? We're in it together. Nope. Okay, let's stay going. High over AI. What's high over AI?
Yeah, that's me, Guy Levy, and this is HI over AI, meaning human intelligence over artificial intelligence. And we know, if you got this Amy Webb, book of the Big Nine, talking about the white male tribe in the Silicon Valley, who is pretty much determine what AI is going to look like. I think that we need to make sure that human intelligence is over AI, and interaction and interplay between human intelligence and AI is crucial, and it has to be something that we put up front, against all the hazards of AI.
And it is a design challenge, isn't it? Because it's a thing about getting everyone's intelligence, not just having a system, that has a big machine learning algorithm and big data at the center of it, and that's pushing out answers to everyone. How do we get a bit like what we're doing here, try and harvest collective intelligence and make all of us create systems and structures that enable all of us to be more intelligent than those kind of algorithms, and make systems like this, these collective intelligent kind of structures. And how do we design them is the point I'm making, right? Maybe we don't really know how to do that yet. And that's maybe why we resort back to kind of centralized systems.
True.
Okay, so security and control, digital humans, regulation. What do we think about regulation? Who's in black?
I wrote that, Joss.
Yep.
Well, actually, it's not a long-term challenge. It's an actual problem, right? I think we're going to face in the near future many more issues like that. Not only on the big tech companies, but across the whole world, we can see governments trying to figure out how to deal with not only cybersecurity, but here in Brazil, for example, open banking and different issues.
Yeah, I mean, governments, public institutions aren't really keeping up with the pace of this technological change, aren't they? It's like those kind of systems the corporations are building are just becoming much more powerful, and governments and so forth doesn't seem to be keeping up with it, really. Is that part of what you're saying? Our regulation isn't keeping up with it, and we need new regulation. We need to be able to design better regulation. Okay, so just to flick on to the next one here. So what do we got here? Please mute your mics. Overproduction, modern slavery for production, social media, and Netflix addiction, long tail, consumerism, unintended consequences. Okay, consumerism, spotlight behavioral approaches. Who's this?
Yeah, that's me, Josh, thanks.
Hey.
Yeah, it just makes me think of what would be behavioral design approaches to tap into changes that are needed for like shifting how we consume, and how this is a leverage for climate action, basically. And there's a really cool wording for related to the Sustainable Development Goals, that SDG 12, which is responsible consumption production, is the largest policy lever for climate action. And I think this is very much true, but I think also behavioral design should play a role in this.
And it's almost weaponized against us. It's almost like, because behavioral design is obviously being used against us to make us buy more products, right? Pretty serious technology and models and so forth are being aimed at all of us to buy products online, in store. So you're talking about the other side of that, trying to mitigate against it and fight back a little bit. No?
I think so. It's there's the author of the book called Hooked, Nir Eyal, who actually ended up also just sort of almost U-turning and writing another book on how, responsibly these new technologies should be used. And I think, I mean, I don't know how seriously to take that U-turn, but I think the world is just, growing more aware of how this was used in a way to get us hooked, and how it should be used actually for perhaps getting us to be more responsible.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So let's move on now for the sake of time. Just to reiterate kind of what we're doing here, guys. This is the second series on exploring systems design. The first one we asked about what is systems design. We did a similar exercise on all these boards here. And then our systems design team last week, a couple of weeks ago, we started synthesizing it into mind maps here. So we're going to, in a month, we'll do a presentation based upon this first one, once we put it all together and see what we discovered. Once again, we're trying to get kind of collective intelligence and use this mind mapping approach to do that. So the next event will be a presentation where we harvest and synthesize and demonstrate to you what we got in the first event. And then after that, we'll do the same for this event. So we'll stay going. So we will capture everything that you put there, and we will put it into a mind map and come back and discuss it. But for the moment, let's stay going. We're on the second board here. Please grab a sticky. The question here is down at the bottom, and it is, what are the challenges and opportunities created by this changing context that necessitate a new approach? So why do we need a new design approach? What's wrong with the reductionist approach? What's wrong with design thinking or industrial design that was focused on products, or this design thinking thing that was very focused on user-centered design or service design? Why is that not sufficed in this new context? Because of some of those things we talked about. What are the opportunities? What are the risks that are going to necessitate a new design paradigm? Okay, I'll let you jump in there. Please grab a sticky, and 4 images there. Post up your stickies, thinking about the images as ways to spark your imagination. It'll take 5 minutes or so to do that. Okay, we'll finish in a minute. I'll finish posting 1 minute. Right, let's jump into this and take a look at what we've got. Finite thinking. So we're trying to respond to this question. What are the challenges and opportunities created by this changing context that necessitate a new approach? We're constructing our story about why we need systems design. So the first one, finite thinking. Okay, where is the electricity coming from?
Hi,
This is
so this is Suresh. Hi.
Hey, Suresh, which one are you?
Yeah, I was the one who put up the finite thinking one.
Okay, finite thinking. Say a few words. Yep.
Yeah, so we are mainly driven by short-term goals and always trying to optimize the local areas rather than looking at the global thing. So that sort of causing not looking at the systems level.
Where there are opportunities that would render this kind of finite thinking somewhat obsolete, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yep. It requires new kind of yeah, I mean, we've used up a lot of the kind of resources and so forth, and we need to shift maybe to a different dimension to really tap into new kind of possibilities. And you're going to need some kind of systems innovation stuff to do that. Start thinking differently and seeing those new opportunities. Nobody understands how systems really work because we're all educated and work in silos.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was this you? This one too? Who posted this?
I
not that one.
Okay, this was Nep.
Yeah.
Nep. Yep. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I think like this problem that everybody understands part of the problem, and it's really hard to somehow make work alone, and we're so organized in silos that it works extremely against this common goals right now.
We've almost reached the limits of silos, the opportunities with all those silos, and we need to shift to a different level to tap into the opportunities of systems and connecting across silos. I think we see that, and the technology is making that possible too, isn't it? Everywhere people are trying to, the smart city or the smart grid or whatever it is, we're trying to connect across silos. Great. Fear of change, not inclusive enough. Minimalism as the new culture of life. Who put this?
This is me again, Guy Levy. You know, the minimalism and minimalist way of living is something that we need to really, it should become the new culture of life. And I believe that this is a good example for that.
Great. Okay, mine, make, dump, attitude. Okay, the take, make, and dispose mentality. The linear model, it's not working anymore. Okay, that's definitely a reason why we need to shift. Let's go into another image here. Emma, Drake, do you have one up here? Haven't heard from you.
For me?
Emma. Is Emma with us? No? No, Gemma? Sorry. Okay, no. Okay, divide, driven by individual goals, work from anywhere, driven by individual goals. So that's something that needs to change. Who posted this? Individual goals? No? Okay, work from anywhere. Personal carbon footprint. Leverage technologies for a sustainable future. Multiple players with multiple differing goals. Who was this?
Hey, yeah, this is Sandesh here, and I think so. It's similar to the one with the individual goals that was posted above. You know, it's the same idea, but I'm saying different people have different goals, and sometimes those goals conflict with each other. Sometimes they're in sync, so that is something that needs to be resolved, so that at least the long-term goal is pretty similar for everybody.
Yeah, get some kind of coordination going. We need to figure out how to coordinate between things, not just more things, but coordination between them. Okay, making connections without causing harm. Fundamental proxemics have changed. Who's this?
Yeah, that was me.
Yep.
So that's like we have this kind of unspoken boundary of what we're comfortable with and how we perceive the space between us. And now that we have to be careful of that space we put between each other, we're more perceptive of that. And our behavior has changed as a result. Yeah.
Because we're more interconnected and more kind of pushed together, is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, we have to be more aware of the space we put because, and that makes us, I guess, more aware of the space of how our environment is set up. So that might drive a shift in how we make architecture and other things.
Yeah. Good one. Need to consider needs of non-humans and voiceless stakeholders. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? It's not just, would you like to say a word on this? It's not just people so much anymore. Who is this?
Yeah, it was me again. Yeah, I think we are so used to consider stakeholders around this business ecosystems or like very visible players, and we need to learn how to make this invisible groups, could be non-human like environmental elements, but also future generation, unborn population, underrepresented, underprivileged groups.
Yeah, and we're starting to value things, like ecosystem services and social capital, things that we didn't. And when we start to value and measure them, we start to account for them and they start to become part of the systems we're designing. And it's no longer just like human-centered, right? It's kind of now a complex adaptive system with all these parts that we have to kind of design for, and their interactions, I think, is part of it. Design for everything. I think, instead of user-centered design, they're talking about design for everything. I think that's part of it, isn't it? Human-centered experience, more focus on people's needs. Okay, so almost out of time here, down here. Global increase of depression. Map is not the territory. Alienation through modern communications. Yeah, an interesting one in times of COVID. Privacy, need for long-term vision. Fast communication networks. Tech transforming our lives. Tragedy of the commons. Yeah, definitely. We need to figure out how to design for that. Who posted this?
That was me. Yeah.
What do you think, John?
Well, it's kind of quite a famous system dynamic about individual decision making ruining it for the collective. And I think we're at such a scale that starts to matter in a lot of things that we aren't even aware of. And a lot of things that we are aware of but have no way of dealing with it yet.
And we need to think about how to design things, structures that overcome that, isn't it? We aren't very good at that at the moment. We keep on creating these things that we're all incentivized to jump in our car and take a drive, but it emits a little CO2 and we get a tragedy of the commons. How do we design things that incentivize us for positive externalities instead of negative externalities? We're really not very good at that. We haven't thought very much about all the kind of game theory and everything and how to do that. So I think that's a good one in terms of why do we need a new paradigm here to get better at doing that sort of stuff. So personal encounters in a post-COVID world. Okay, cool. So, and then this one here, local agricultural foods systems. And we have unintended side effects when designing with a limited perspective. Yes, we talked a lot about unintended consequences last session. Too much food waste, opportunity to improve efficiency of the global food system. Data can help us a lot with that. Now we've got a lot of data, and that creates an opportunity, if you have good design, to radically redesign design systems like that food system where we waste 30% of the food from farm to fork. Growing population means more mouths to feed. Need to imagine alternative and better futures. Great. So current tools are used to benefit of society's advantage, financial opportunities, food production that is a net positive for the planet. Future generations' needs are not considered. Excellent. Thank you very much for that, guys. I did great stuff. So this one, we're on the third section here, and we're talking about the kind of transition, the kind of change that needs to come about in our design practice. We have this kind of evolution in design from, the industrial design and ergonomics and user-centered design, design thinking, and where are we going now? What needs to change to get us to the new place we need to be in to, respond to those challenges we just talked about? What's the kind of change in our design practice that needs to come about? I'm going to leave you with that for the next few minutes, and post up your stickies. And I'll be back in 5 minutes or so. Okay, for the sake of time, let's jump in, take a look at what we have. What are the changes? What's the transition? What's the change in design that needs to come about? Inclusive design decisions, having more people involved in the design process and decision making.
Just that's me. Could you, yes. Inclusive design and decision making.
Yeah.
I think that's self-explanatory.
Okay, great. Produce locally, taking responsibility of ignorance, mistakes. Taking responsibility of ignorance and mistakes. Okay, design things with less materials, dematerialization, design for sustainability, for sure. This is what needs to come about. Find new business models. Who buys design defines the targets. Yeah, okay. Money shapes a lot of what happens here in design. And you need to change targets, maybe somehow. Okay, design with circularity in mind, social impact assessment. Yeah, start thinking about the social impacts of what we're designing. Enable and empower versus prescription. Co-creation, co-design. We talked a lot about that last time. Thinking globally and acting locally. Focus beyond user. Anybody want to talk about that?
Yeah, that was me. So I think what we already mentioned before, we have to, so with design thinking and so on, we're focused on the user, but if we optimize products for one user group, it might have unintended consequences for others, like other people, but also communities, environment, and so on. So I think we need to just think bigger and also think about beyond the user, what is also the kind of global maximum, so not just a local maximum, what is the best solution for certain people, but have the best ideal solution globally.
Totally, and that's kind of the paradigm shift, isn't it? Being able to start to think globally, being able to think holistically and take account of all the factors and all the agents and actors in the system. Not so easy. It's a big jump. It's a big transition that's going to have to happen in our design, but I think it's what we're talking about here. So starting with what we know, work with people, not on people, okay? Flexibility and collaboration among organizations. Design for other 90%. Frugal innovation, design for all. We're going in that direction, aren't we? Do you think? Who posted this?
I wrote that. And yeah, because we need to not just facilitate the other 19% to design their products, but also help them I am from Italy, so we need to design with them and help them the way they need to do in their context, not in our context.
Totally. I mean, emerging economies and developing economies has more relevance too, doesn't it? Like really getting down to the bottom of the pyramid, as they say, and working with what they have. We don't have to bring in a lot of resources. Great. So here we have a complex systems approach, a legalize on circularity, a legalize non-circularity. I think we need regulation there to make the linear world illegal. That's a good one. Great collaboration of small design teams. Okay, who's this kind of agile approach are we talking about? Okay, let's stay going. Global distribution of work should be redesigned. Global distribution of work should be redesigned. Start with what we know. Okay, we have that. So let's flick up here. Systems modeling. Who's this? Who wants to talk about that? Systems modeling, anyone? Okay, 1600 geometry to algebra, 2000s equations to algorithms. Yeah, big change that's happening. Big change that's happening, and we're going to have computers. Who's this? We're going to have computers embedded in everything, aren't we? And things are going to become much more algorithmic. Yep, much more algorithmic.
Yeah, I agreed. That we used to think of things in parts and in modular, but now in our, computer science and biology are kind of starting to overlap a little bit, synthetic biology, and we're going to stop thinking in modular parts and thinking about how we create continuity. So equations were modular, and you kind of do them at that moment, but algorithms are always considering the context and kind of adapting to its current state.
Yeah. You even think about transport, right? We used to think about transport of building cars, and now it's kind of Uber, which is a system of cars it's a network of cars that are coordinated by algorithms. And their whole business is built upon those kind of algorithms, coordinating that system instead of the car itself. Okay, so collaborative and iterative approach versus exclusive grand design, for sure. So this one down here, kind of Internet of Things. Nobody understood blockchain. Nobody understands blockchain yet. It's about to run our worlds. Good point, don't you think? No one really understands it, and it's about to kind of take over, all right? Diversity, and you could say the same about decentralized systems, right? It seems like they're poised to kind of take over, but not. We don't know too much about them. We've been designing kind of centralized system for so long now that we kind of forgot what they look like. Designed for unpredictable and the unknown. Maybe goes to the algorithm too thing, right? Algorithms can kind of deal. Machine learning, it can potentially deal with unpredictable things that come along. We used to just design and think we know what the environment was like and create a kind of fixed thing. And now maybe we have the potential to design kind of adapting and evolving things using those algorithms. Embrace complexity. Focus on the global maximum. What's this?
This is what I already mentioned a bit, so that we are used to kind of finding solutions that fit for a certain spectrum or certain kinds of user group, but we have to think bigger than that and find a solution that works for everyone, or that also work long term and not just short term.
Okay, great. Da, do you have something up here on this one?
No.
No. Okay, cool. So we should move on to keep on time. Small is beautiful. Design should stop serving business interests of only the few. Yeah, so it's almost about business models also, isn't it? It can't just be about changing design. It's got to be changing kind of the metrics of success. I mean, it's kind of business that defines a lot of the metrics of success. And I guess that's why design has evolved a lot into that kind of user-centered thing, isn't it? Because that's what businesses wanted. They wanted to please their customers. And those were the metrics that were kind of given to their designers, and they were optimizing for that. And we ended up in the kind of Facebook world where it's giving us whatever we want. That's part of it, isn't it? Thinking more expansively outside of the box of design. It's also about business models and so on. So greater collaboration of small design teams. Yeah, we have this simplicity in design. Simplicity in design is inclusive, cognitive, diverse users. Who posted this?
That was me. Yeah.
So, I mean, complexity is kind of, or something that's very complicated, we can't deal with, isn't it? And it's exclusive, like in finance, a lot of complex equations and algorithms, and we don't understand, it's a black box. And is that what you're saying?
That, there's not a lot of effort to understand the product. So simple things are easy to understand, so designing things to be easily interpretable will drive, tighter interactions with that product.
Yeah, and it's the kind of low tech thing, isn't it? We don't appreciate, we're so quick to put high tech in everything, aren't we? We don't appreciate the cost of that we as users become excluded from it. If you put low tech into it, we'd understand it and become more connected now.
There's also we're starting to fit everything into our phone. And so we have to kind of evolve these new, mental constructs to kind of work with this. That's
Everything has to fit on that little screen of your phone, and they're battling over that 4 inches by 2 inches of your screen. Okay, great. So the last one here is around a new approach. So what would this new approach look like? Talked a bit about it before, but what would a design approach, what kind of a design approach would be relevant for responding to those kind of challenges that we just talked about and those changes? This is what would systems design look like, our new approach. Let's go for it. We'll take just a short while, just 4 minutes or so to post here, and I'll join you again to discuss that. Okay, just another 30 seconds or so and we'll wrap up. Okay, guys, let's take a look at what we have here. So the question of what this next generation design approach might look like. Revival of city center, inclusive and accessible. Regenerative design, more than modular. Self-organization, well synchronized. Who posted the well synchronized?
Yes, that's me.
Anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, well synchronized for me is to connect with the people where you are most connected with. For example, the tech heavy, which I could see in this time the people are connected globally, which are heavy tech people. But if you see the other segment of people who don't have access to the technology or the internet, or they are not in sync with the global connectivity. So yeah, that's why.
Trying to get better synchronicity between them. Okay, so design for emergence and resilience, like a city, diversity in design for reuse, refurbish, and remanufacture. Okay, design for asynchronicity. Okay, it's a good one. Constructural law of design approach for almost everything. Someone want to pick up on this? Who is this?
Yeah, that was me. That if you look at things in flows, yeah. If you look at things as flows that are affecting its environment, you can, I mean, it's a natural design law. So it goes without saying, I guess. I can't explain it as well as you could.
Yeah. Well, it's a good one, isn't it? It's the idea that the flow systems are ultimately processes, and flow systems are ultimately what we look for, and we're trying to maximize the capacity of a flow system, really, like a tree or some living system is trying to maximize its capacity to process resources, and we should really design for that. That should be the aim of our design. Like this street here should be designed for the optimal kind of flow of people through it, or an airport or something like this. We should be looking in the world in terms of flow systems instead of kind of static structures. So interesting law, right? Bioempathy, sealing off less ground, okay, with nature at their core, simple yet effective, make cities green. Causal loop diagrams. Yeah, imagine if we had those for all the things we design, cities and transport things, and it'd be amazing, wouldn't it? We don't have them at the moment, just a few of them. Healthcare systems, we get a more holistic view of the whole thing. Use systems, principles and methods. That's the idea for sure. Aim to be regenerative, not as result, but as the method. Designed for entire life cycle. Yep, that's a big thing that we need to think about. Design for macro, from micro to macro. Ego less, sharing of ideas, not profit driven by patents. Goes back to the business models again. Decentralized decision making. Robust communications. Who posted this? Okay, fit for purpose, purpose being more than profits. Who posted that? Nope, we've lost the person. Okay, embrace complexity, natural computing over von Neumann. Okay, Newman. Design for the biological cycles, biodesign, network design, co-working with AI bots. Co-working with AI bots. I like it. Continuous and ever-changing. Respect and dignity for all. Right? That's been a theme, kind of incorporating, going to a whole kind of a design for everything instead of just for specific parts. Deep thinking. Play with infinite game. Play the infinite game. Who is this?
Yeah, it's me. So it's coming from Simon Sinek's Infinite Game book. So wherein he says so the concept is like instead of playing for arbitrary timelines and for arbitrary metrics, we focus on life and what we can achieve in the whole life. And it's a much bigger game. It's an infinite game. And there is no winners or losers. Only thing is like how do you contribute to the whole of the ecosystem. So so that should be the driver rather than trying to beat the competition or win the some awards in the company and things like that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How social structures, our economic structures, our mental models set the parameters within which we go and do our design. I think that's part of what we've been talking about here. All of those and that kind of management thinking, short life cycles, it sets the parameters within which we go and do our design. We can only achieve so much within that. And maybe you've heard of the Long Now Foundation, their foundation where they think 30 years, 30,000 years, I think it is, into the future, and like 30,000 back into the past, and they put everything into that context. It's very interesting, watch the news and it's just like, what happened this week, what happened last week, and they're thinking 30,000 years into the future and into the past. It just totally recontextualizes everything, actually, a bit like the idea of infinity. So reflection at work requires much deeper understanding of the system we're in, for sure, right? That's a big part of it, isn't it? This awareness of the systems we form part of, and from that awareness, creating a new design approach that is holistic and that is accounting for all the different parts. Okay, let's leave it there for now, guys. We've run over time already. Thank you very much for your participation. We're going to, as mentioned, synthesize that. I showed you a little bit before what it looks like. We're still working on this here. So yeah, me, Susan, the rest of the design team, we're going to put this together. It's almost finished, actually, but in our next event, I think we'll do a presentation based upon this, and we'll have another discussion based upon what we have here, and we'll do a similar sort of thing for the activity we just did, and do a presentation based on that, and have a discussion so that we can capture all the knowledge that we've put up there, and yeah, have a discussion around it. Let's leave it for now. Thank you very much for your contribution, and hope to see you all again next month when we do it again. Okay, guys, take care. I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.